about business planning. Why is business planning so important? In the United States, the closure rate at the end of 1 year, 20% of the businesses have closed. At the end of 2 years, 30%. At the end of 5 years, 50%. And by 10 years, 70% of all these businesses have closed. Good business planning helps anticipate problems, develop contingency plans, and reduce risk. Planning is all about managing risk. So many of you may have heard this. Mike Tyson, former heavyweight boxing champion of the world, he had a quote. And basically it was, everyone has a plan until they step into the boxing ring and get punched in the mouth. And so his point was, you could spend a lot of time planning, training, developing your strategy, but until you take it into the ring, into the marketplace, you don't know if you're going to get punched in the mouth. I would suggest that COVID-19 is a hard punch in the mouth to business. So I want to talk to you about some of the general trends here in the United States because of COVID. All right. And these are things that are occurring right now that big business and small business are dealing with. And then people, the consumers, are dealing with on a daily basis. Most small businesses have been devastated. Big businesses have been devastated. It's caused many of these good businesses to pivot. So there's been a rapid acceleration of the use of technology, and it's evolved. Delivery and shipping services have grown because people aren't going out. Mobile, no-touch, alternative payment systems have grown. Software to do business is growing. Because people aren't traveling and they're staying home, home improvement projects have increased. Automobile sales have decreased. In the United States, there's a major public health focus. There's a telehealth, telemedicine focus. What that means is, instead of going to my doctor, I log in online and my doctor's appointment is through the computer. Major healthcare awareness. One of the side things is mental health. Because people aren't going out and they're not socializing and they're living in isolation, there are mental health issues. And so there's a focus on mental health. Our college students, our little kids, they're not going to school. So there's been a big increase in focus on online learning, teaching remotely, teachers being trained, families are being trained how to learn online. There's been a big increase in Netflix streaming and Amazon Prime streaming and the consumption of TV and streaming services. This is funny. Alcohol consumption is up. People are drinking more. Meals away from home. So what that means is people going out to restaurants is down. Because people aren't traveling to major destinations around the world, camping has increased, going out into the wilderness and camping. Boat ownership, people buying boats to go out in the ocean, in the rivers to fish, that has grown. And living here in Connecticut, Our neighbor is New York. And what we're seeing is our real estate values have gone up because people are fleeing New York City and they're buying property in the surrounding areas. So real estate in Connecticut has grown drastically. So what this slide represents from the United States perspective is an estimated back to normal timeline under two scenarios. So the first clear dot is if there's a vaccine and if people social distance, when that industry will recover. The black dot represents no vaccine, no protocols, the projected growth, the projected recovery time, sorry. So as you can see, there's all these various timelines for recovery. And this is important to you because of your planning. If you're planning to open up an entertainment venue, a club, a movie theater, a theme park, then even in the best times, things won't be normal for 4 years. If you're looking at manufacturing, well, manufacturing is going to recover quickly. If you're looking at construction, construction is exploding. It's growing rapidly. So this is important. Part of your planning process should be based upon the industry and the timeline for recovery. All right, just very, very important. So, famous quote, if I was given 1 hour to save the planet, I would spend 59 minutes defining the problem and 1 minute resolving it, the problem. And the reason I put that in there is if you find a problem and you can solve a problem, you have a business. And during COVID, this is the perfect time to find a problem. So if you go back to those trends in the United States and you look at the problems and the trends, right? People aren't going to restaurants. That's a problem, but they still need food. They're not going to the markets. So the problem is they need food. You can solve that. It's a business opportunity. Find a problem, solve the problem, and you have a business. So let's talk about the process. What is the process, right? What is the not only small business, but what is the strategic process? It's a discipline. So you have a business idea. It could be a good idea, could be a bad idea. We don't know. And the only way to find out if we know is to do an internal analysis and an external analysis. And through your analysis, you're going to make a strategic decision. You're going to make a choice. And I'm going to come back to this slide, but let me move on to internal analysis and talk about that, and then external, and then come back to this slide. So the internal analysis is all the stuff inside your business, right? The resources you have, and your resources could be people, your warehouse, could be the goodwill you have in the community. Your capabilities are internal. Can you get to market? Are you capable of getting your idea to market, your product to market, your service to market? And here's something really important. Core competencies, your core, your center. Your core competencies are those things that you do extremely well. It's those things that you are known for. You're known as being the best baker, the best farmer, the best manufacturer. Like that core is what you do well, and you have an advantage of that because you do it so well, right? And so it leads you to a competitive advantage, and your competitive advantage is your ability to do that core competency better than anybody else, right? Either better or less expensive. So your core competitive advantage. And how your final thing for an internal analysis is your strategic competitiveness. Are you able to leverage your competitive advantage and get it to market? So internally, you do this analysis, and you can do it several different ways, and there's a whole bunch of tools that can help you. But you look at what your core is, you look at your resources, you look what you can do. Do you have a competitive advantage, and can you get that strategically to the marketplace? And it's very important that you're honest with yourselves, and it's factual, and it's based on data and information. Now, the external analysis, there's a whole bunch of tools for external analysis. Um, and the one I personally like is Michael Porter's 5 forces. And what it does is it forces you to look at 5 different areas for your analysis. One of the common analysis tools that people use is called SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What I like about Porter's is it makes you focus on your competitors. It makes you focus on the people buying your product. It makes you focus on um, the possibility of somebody coming into the category. And it makes you focus on, if you're too high priced, people can substitute your product. So let me just talk about Michael Porter's 5 forces for 1 minute, okay? So the concept of buyers, who has power? Do you have the power, or do the buyers have the power? And do the buyers have the ability to negotiate quality, quantity, and price? And so there's an analysis that you're going to look at when you do this. Your competitors. Who are your competitors in the marketplace? The rivals. Do any exist? Are they there? It's a great question. You have to do an analysis. Threat of new people coming into the category. And I like to use this one as the analysis. For example, if we collectively wanted to start a car company, and if we wanted to target Mercedes-Benz, right? So we went through our analysis and we said we want to be a luxury car maker. How tough would that be? That'd be pretty hard, right? It would take hundreds of millions of dollars, and it would take 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So the entry into the category is a big barrier. So not a lot of people enter the car industry. On the other hand, if we wanted to start a social media page and we wanted to go after Facebook, right? Well, what we would do is we would focus on the technology, we would develop a platform, and we'd get a clever name, right? And then maybe we would hire a couple of hundred of the most famous, Ronaldo, Messi, famous movie stars, and we would get them to be our spokespeople. And maybe we could attack Facebook. So the barrier into that marketplace is a little bit lower. So there's a threat in that area because it's easier to get into that marketplace. The bargaining power of suppliers is another category. If I make car tires and there's only one person in the world that supplies rubber plants, well, they get to control the price of rubber and they have all the power. But if I'm a tire manufacturer and there's 100 sources for the rubber, well, then we can come to a common understanding. And then the final category that Michael Porter asks you to analyze, it's called substitutes. How easy is it to substitute your product and service? So I live in Connecticut and I want to travel to Washington, D.C. I can drive my car, I can take the train, I can take the bus, or I can fly by car. And so I look at the different options and I weigh cost, convenience, and time. If the airline ticket goes up to $1,000, I'm not going to do it. If the bus is at $60 and the airline ticket's at $60, well, I'm going to substitute the bus and use the airline. So the concept of substitutes is important when you're doing your external analysis. All right, so let's just go back up. So we have this business idea, we've done our external and internal, and we've made a decision. And we're going to implement our plan. Implementation is where a lot of plans fall apart. All you have to do is ask yourself 3 simple questions to implement. It's not simple to do, but the questions are simple. What needs to be done? Who is going to do it? And when will it be done by? And so those simple questions help put a structure into the implementation stage. Now, in the past, I've used project management software in Microsoft. So Microsoft Project helps with implementation. There's a whole bunch of tools that help you, but in the simplest idea for small business, what needs to be done, who's going to do it, and when will it be done by, right? So now you implement and you get to your results. And here's where you enter the stage of it's a continuous process of analysis and decisions. It's very much like sailing a boat. The wind changes, you change your sails. The wind changes again, you change your direction. And there's this constant tactical movement because all of our competitive environments, they're not stagnant. They're very moving, very fluid, correct? So you can continue on doing business like you do, or you can pivot. And so I think it's important that we spend a couple of minutes talking about pivot. What is a pivot, right? So let's move down. In its simplest definition, a pivot is a change, right? I'm changing direction. I'm moving, I'm making a strategic change to my business. And it could be a minor adjustment, a major adjustment, but it's a new strategy. So it could be a product modification, a service modification. It could be a completely new category. It could be a completely new customer. It could be changing a manufacturing process using new technology. In its simplest form, a pivot means something's happening and you're going to move your business in another direction. All right. So why do companies pivot and when? So you pivot when there's a major disruption that impacts your business. COVID is a great example of a major disruption. It could be a natural disaster, an earthquake, a fire. It could be a supply chain event. Your primary supplier went out of business. Your primary supplier got purchased by their competitor. But for one reason or another, you have a major disruption, right? If you're you're trying to catch up in the marketplace, maybe you should pivot. If there's too much competition in that one category, maybe you didn't do a good job in your external analysis, and all of a sudden you find that there's a lot of competition and there's more coming. Maybe you should pivot. Potentially, maybe if your company hit a growth plateau, if your company stopped growing, well, then maybe you should pivot. And there's a whole multitude of reasons. Your revenue's decreasing, your volume's decreasing. Change is forcing you to pivot. So how do you pivot? How do you pivot? First and foremost, everything you do should be based upon process and data, right? And while you're running your business, you may come up with great ideas for years, and you may be in business for 2, 3, 4 years, and you may be pivot at year 5. Have somewhere where you keep all those ideas as you're growing, so have a collection point for your ideas, good ideas and bad, it doesn't matter. Just put them somewhere. And you're going to use a process, a strategic process to pivot, but know your customers. Talk to your customers, know them inside and out, know their habits, know everything you can about your customer, because you may be able to pivot ahead of a trend. Know your marketplace, know your industry. Just be constantly trying to learn what's new, what's coming, right? If you're going to pivot, pivot early, pivot soon. And just once you decide to pivot, get it done. Don't wait, because if you went through the process, then you've done it correctly and you should be ready to pivot. And then when you do pivot, make sure it's the right move. Make sure you're pivoting yourself into a good business opportunity. So, what do I mean? So, Honda USA, Groupon, PayPal, and Twitter all started out with one strategy, but as they learned the marketplace, they pivoted. So let me share with you a quick story about Honda, the motorcycles, right? When back in the 70s, when Honda was going to come to the United States, the number one motorcycle was Harley Davidson. And Harley Davidson makes, as you know, big, big motorcycles. So Honda did a market analysis and they said, okay, we're going to build a plant in California and we're going to introduce big motorcycles. Now, big motorcycles was brand new to them. In Asia, they made smaller bikes, 250s, 125 cc's. They brought their motorcycles over, the executives, the employees, and in California, they were riding their smaller bikes, their smaller motorcycles, and they drew a lot of attention. And people were really, really interested in those smaller bikes. And then back in the 1970s, there was a gasoline crisis in the United States. It was difficult to get petroleum. And all of a sudden, those smaller motorcycles, people were like, hey, can we get those too? And so looking at the market analysis, looking at the price of gas and the demand by consumers, Honda USA pivoted at that time and they changed their manufacturing facility. So it's a very common thing, but it's based on data and market analysis. So here's an example. Here's a couple of examples. You have a fitness company, a gym, right? A yoga studio, a Pilates studio. Well, during COVID, people aren't going into these studios. So what is a pivot? A pivot would be the company now does all of their programs online and the customer pays a subscription online to take that exercise class. Because people aren't going into stores as much. What's the pivot? Instead of going into the stores, people order online. Restaurants. People aren't going into restaurants as much. So what's the pivot? You go to the curb, the entryway, and they hand it to you. So instead of going in, or delivery. So Uber Eats is a big service here in the United States. So food delivery has increased. The other pivot is the airlines, the jets. Because they're still in service, what the airline companies have done is they're selling cargo space. So packaging, and it's another example of pivoting. So here's just a very basic rudimentary example. You own a market or you own a restaurant, and normally customers come inside, right? They come in to see you, they come in to buy their product, they come in to sit down and eat. So COVID hits and people no longer go in. So the restaurant industry, the market industry has to pivot. And what have they done? They take technology and use technology to help them pivot. So now people go online and order or call and order, and the restaurant or market will deliver, or you go pick it up and you don't go inside. And if you don't want to pick it up, one of the businesses that has grown is delivery services. So Uber drivers are now delivering food more than they're delivering people. So you have a disruption, you have COVID, you have to pivot, you use technology, and it helps you to get to where you need to be, and your business stays hopefully strong to recover. Again, it's a continuous process. Even after you pivot, you have to go back and do your analysis. You have to look at your customers. You have to look at your core competencies. Manufacturing companies here in the United States, their products weren't being sold, so they converted to making face masks. Lotion companies converted to manufacturing sanitizer, right? So you go back through the process and just know at some point the COVID virus is going to be gone and we're going to have a vaccine. So you may have to pivot again. You may have to be competitive again. All right. So I know I went through that rather quickly, but I want to give an opportunity if anybody has any questions or if there's anything I can help with.
Tim, we
Yes.
are going to start the questions now. So maybe you can stop sharing. Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go. Okay, Tim. We really appreciate your presentation. Nosotros realmente apreciamos tu presentación. And I am going to ask some questions in English and Spanish at the same time. Y vamos a preguntarte algunas preguntas en español e inglés al mismo tiempo. Okay, first question. Zoom is a company winning the game of crisis. What are the characteristics of a company in order to take advantage and opportunities in crisis? Zoom es una compañía ganando en la crisis. ¿Cuáles son las características de una compañía para tomar ventajas y oportunidades en la crisis?
So Zoom has been a company that benefited from COVID. They were in existence before COVID, but the virus accelerated their growth. And they're not a small business, they're a big business, but what they did was they had a platform that people ran to, companies, schools ran to. One of the smart things they did is they positioned themselves in the marketplace. Zoom is a clever name. Zoom has great technology. And then what they did is when COVID hit in the United States, they gave you free meetings. So if you were thinking about setting up a meeting, they would give you 45 minutes free. And so this free offer, people ran to Zoom and started using it.
Okay, I'm going to translate in only two phrases your words. Okay, Tim explica que Zoom es una compañía que ha ganado en la crisis y el virus aceleró eso, pero hay que aprender de estas compañías que también le dan como un gancho o una oferta a los clientes con esa oportunidad de 40 minutes free, ¿no? 40 free minutes, con esa oportunidad de 40 minutos gratis que da Zoom. Entonces, eso hace que la empresa gane cierta visibilidad y entonces gana el mercado. Perfect. Second question. Starbucks 1 month ago was closing more than 400 stores. Is this COVID-19 a game changer and Starbucks is going to change the business model? en español. Starbucks hace un mes estaba cerrando más de 400 tiendas. ¿Es COVID-19 un cambiador del juego de negocios y por eso Starbucks va a cambiar?
Starbucks is a great example of what's happening in the United States to retail in general. Even before the COVID virus, Starbucks was struggling. But as a result, Starbucks and their number one competitor, Dunkin' Donuts, both are closing stores. Mauricio, do you want to take the first half of that translation and then I'll finish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, ok, Starbucks está compitiendo diferente a otras compañías como Dunkin' Donuts y probablemente Starbucks logre una ventaja competitiva producto de cambiar su modelo de negocios ya no en tienda o consumidor adentro de la tienda, sino que delivery y otros modelos, al estilo de Dunkin' Donuts compitiendo con ese tipo de negocio.
So, as you know, coffee is very, very profitable. There's a lot of money and margin in coffee. So, on the commodity exchange, a farmer may be delivering a pound of coffee for 85, 90 cents a pound. And by the time it gets to Starbucks, they're selling it $5.50 per cup. So there's a lot of money in coffee, and there's a lot of money for retail in beverages. Starbucks is continuously adapting their business model. You can buy Starbucks in the market. You can buy food at Starbucks. You can buy music at Starbucks. You can buy coffee at Starbucks. So, yes, their business model is always evolving.
Quizás una de las cosas más impresionantes de Starbucks es su flexibilidad y modelo de adaptabilidad, de innovación, porque tú puedes encontrar música en Starbucks, tú puedes encontrar sándwich o lo que sea en Starbucks, no solo café, también café en Starbucks, por supuesto, pero es un modelo de negocio que está adaptándose. Y Tim nos dice que Starbucks probablemente sea una de las empresas que mejor se adapte a la crisis. Excellent, Tim. Next question. Could you offer examples of business that they have built a customer-focused culture, not a product-focused one? ¿Podría darnos algunos ejemplos de negocios que construyen una cultura enfocada en el consumidor, no una enfocada en el producto?
So, culture is so important to a business success. And Virgin Atlantic is a great example of a company that talks about culture and what they do. Starbucks is another company that talks about culture and what they do, taking care of the customer, focusing on the customer. There's an old an old quote that from Drucker. Everybody knows Peter Drucker, and Drucker said, "Culture beats strategy all the time." And so, if you can create a good culture where people feel invited to come in, well, then you're going to be successful. Yes, you have to have a good product or service. Yes, you have to be reasonably priced, but it's that culture that keeps employees happy and customers returning. So, Virgin Atlantic, Starbucks, and there's a bunch of companies in the United States. There's one is called Tom's from Maine, where they make products with almost no chemicals in them, and they have this great culture. Nike has a culture. It's a little bit different. So you look at those companies that LL Bean is customer focused, where they go above and beyond and make sure the customer's happy. They sell the experience, they sell the relationship.
Perfecto. Tim nos explica que tenemos que centrarnos en una cultura enfocada en el cliente, porque esto es lo que realmente crea una fidelización de los clientes y es lo que va cambiando realmente el negocio. El negocio puede ser flexible y cambiar, pero si está centrado en las necesidades del cliente, independientemente de lo que esté pasando afuera, como puede ser una crisis, siempre vamos a atender la necesidad del cliente. Entonces, I really like your point. Estamos muy, nos encanta cómo Tim lo explica. Question number 4, pregunta número 4. Could you offer examples of business? Do it as soon as you can. ¿Podrías ofrecer ejemplos de negocios? Hazlo tan pronto como tú puedas.
When I say do it as soon as you can, it means you've gone through the process. You've done your analysis. You know what you have to do. If your business is going down and you're hoping that your business gets better, it won't. You have to adjust your strategy. And once you've determined, remember, define the problem. What is the problem? What is happening? Once you define the problem, you'll get the solution. And as soon as you pivot and develop that strategy, don't wait. If you've identified it's going bad, immediately make the change after you go through the strategic process.
Perfecto. Tim nos explica que si un negocio va cayendo en ventas o va perdiendo, realmente tú tienes que actuar ahora, tan pronto como sea posible, y no puedes esperar a que el negocio va a mejorar. Tienes que hacerlo ahora y adaptar tu estrategia ahora. Hazlo tan pronto como tú puedas. Se refiere a tomar decisiones hoy para no estar esperando el futuro, porque el futuro, si no haces nada hoy, no va a pasar nada bueno. Perfecto.
Sí.
Question number 5. Some small business, the most important thing is how to manage the cash flow in crisis. What do you think about it? En español, para algunos pequeños negocios, el tema más importante es cómo manejar el flujo de caja. ¿Tu opinión sobre esto, Tim?
So in business planning, you always need, in the United States, there's this saying, you need your rainy day fund. And what that means is you need enough money for the emergency. You need enough money for the bad days. You need the cash, right? So it really is a question of you need to identify, do you have the liquid reserves? And if the answer is no, then the second question is, where do you get the money? So do you have the cash? And it could be a month, 2 months, a year, depending on your business, depending on what market you're in. So you need the liquid capital. If you don't have it, you need to be able to get it. So those are really important. Do I have it? If I don't have it, where do I get it? So yes, cash is extremely important because there is no perfect business. Everybody goes through these peaks and valleys.
Perfecto. Tim nos explica que el cash es lo más importante para el negocio porque siempre necesitamos reservas. Y si estás en crisis y la pregunta es, ¿tienes reservas o sabes qué vas a hacer si te quedas sin liquidez? Siempre debes conservar liquidez. Si no hay cash, como dice Kiyosaki, cash flow en el negocio, realmente estás en problemas y debes preocuparte. Lo más importante es siempre tener cash flow en el negocio. Excelente. Here we go. Los asistentes al webinar pueden poner sus preguntas aquí en el chat. Todos los que quieran poner preguntas pueden hacerlo en el chat, por favor, ¿verdad? Los que quieran poner sus preguntas. Si alguien tiene preguntas, por favor, ponerlas en el chat.
I think Darwin's going to have a question.
Yeah. In chat, you can put all the questions in chat, please.
And I think Hussein is going to have a question.
Pongan sus preguntas, por favor. Ok. Lo pueden poner en el chat, por favor. Ok. We continue. Number 6.
Yes.
Here we go. Number 6. Pregunta 6. What are the possibilities for small businesses in the digital economy? ¿Cuáles son las posibilidades para los pequeños negocios en la economía digital?
Digital technology levels the field. Digital technology makes the little guy equal to the big guy. Mauricio, can you translate that and then I'll continue?
Ok. Dice que la tecnología nivela los negocios, porque un pequeño negocio con tecnología puede compararse a un gran negocio. Por ejemplo, en marketing digital, un gran negocio gastaba mucha plata para llegar a mucha gente, pero con pequeño negocio, con tecnología, puede abarcar siempre a 5,000 consumidores o más a través del marketing digital, por ejemplo. I'm talking about digital marketing as an example.
Yes. So every single industry, people have big competitors and small competitors. And the digital economy, digital technology, it allows you to do more with fewer employees and less money. So if I wanted to open up an insurance company, I don't have to have an office. I don't have to have an office with people. I only need one or two people, and we allow the software to manage the customers. I use Google Analytics to manage the data. I do geofencing through Google. I do geo-targeting through Google. And I use the digital platforms to get to more people faster and more efficiently. So I don't need an office of 100. I just need to be able to manage my technology. So it's all about technology now to be competitive. Your payroll can be automated. Your marketing can be automated. Every component of your business, if it's that type, if it's a service hands-on industry, it's a little harder. But yes, businesses must be in the digital economy. They must use technology.
Ok. Tim nos explica que, por ejemplo, en una compañía de seguros, él solo necesita 2 personas, ya no necesita 10 personas, porque tiene Google Analytics, tiene Big Data, análisis con software, y el software le permite tomar decisiones inteligentes, como un CRM, los hábitos del consumidor, y básicamente nos explica Tim que uno puede bajar la planilla, puede bajar muchos costos a través del software. Así que la economía digital puede ser una ventaja competitiva para el negocio. Okay, we have here one question okay, please.
Mauricio, un momento. So this is how important technology is. And I want to bring you back to the project that we worked on in Costa Rica. Think about historically the role of the farmer, the co-op, the broker, and the marketplace. Historically, technology did not allow the farmer or the co-op to communicate with the customer. Technology now allows co-ops to sell directly to consumers in the United States and Germany. So cooperatives now, they're getting a bigger part of the money just by leveraging technology. It's being done in coffee, with cocoa, with soybeans. I think the big disruptor is technology. It is going to help farmers to make more money and live on a better wage. So I would strongly advocate the expansion of the use of technology.
Ok, Tim nos explica que la tecnología es un gran disruptor y Tim nos advierte y nos aconseja que la tecnología va a permitir cooperar. Cooperate, ¿no? Cooperate is very important. Las empresas van a poder cooperar porque realmente se puede vender con tecnología en tiempo real, en Alemania, en Estados Unidos o en cualquier lugar. Lo que tienen que hacer las empresas es aprender a usar muy bien la tecnología y a poder, por supuesto, hacer las operaciones legalmente como se hace en cada país. Muy bien. Excellent. We have here one question from Rafael. Rafael, it says, if I would like to change my business based on the crisis, what is the fundamental decision about to change my business?
So who are your customers and how can you service them better?
Perfect. tienes que basar tu decisión, Rafael Narváez, en quiénes son tus consumidores. Quiénes son tus consumidores y cómo es que tú vas a servir mejor a esos consumidores. O sea, es basado en el consumidor, lo que quiere el cliente y cómo es que lo vas a servir mejor. Por eso es que habla del delivery. Delivery is an example, ¿no?
Sí.
Ya, porque tú buscas darle un mejor servicio al consumidor, porque el consumidor no puede salir a la calle tan fácilmente. Perfecto.
What business is he in?
What?
Rafael, does he have a
Ra-
business?
Ya, Rafael, ¿usted tiene un negocio? He's in the chat, but I don't know
Okay.
if. Yeah, but we can continue. Rafael, Tim is asking you.
No.
Está preguntando Tim si tú tienes un negocio y qué tipo de negocio es.
No.
Pero
So
bueno, lo
he does.
escribe en.
No, he doesn't. He was just asking conceptually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
your customer votes on whether or not they like you. And the way your customer votes is with their money.
Lo más importante es el consumidor y cómo él está llevándote la riqueza a la compañía. Si tú no manejas bien la relación con el consumidor, estás en problema. Esa es la relación. Ahora, creo que contestó. Ok, perfecto. Rafael said thank you. Really, thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Okay. Number 7. What do you consider if we have a problem in order to incentive innovation in crisis? ¿Qué considera sucede si nosotros tuviéramos un problema para incentivar la innovación en la crisis?
So there's a very famous economist called Mankiw. His last name is Mankiw, and I believe he's from Harvard. And he says that people respond to incentives.
People responde a incentivos, dice Tim.
See, and so it could be bigger packaging, it could be less expensive, it could be extra crispy. But if you can find an incentive to give to the customers, they will come to you.
Perfecto. Si puedes incentivar a tus consumidores, ellos vendrán a ti. El problema es lograr los incentivos, ¿no? Ese es el problema. Number 8. Number 8. We can see here. Could you offer some examples of business that they are getting superior profitability in crisis?
En español?
¿Podría ofrecernos algunos ejemplos de negocios que están logrando un rendimiento superior en la crisis?
Sí. That is easy. So Uber Eats is very successful delivering food. Zoom, very successful with online conferencing. As I said before, beer, alcohol, very, very successful. Swimming pools. There's a back order on swimming pools in the United States. New windows for your home. Delivery services. Let me give you a small example. I have 3 dogs. They're older dogs. In the middle of the day, I need somebody to come here and let my old dogs out. When COVID hit, nobody had reason to keep somebody to come in and walk your dogs. The woman that walks my dogs, she had no money now, so she pivoted and she started going to the supermarket and doing food delivery to people.
Perfecto. Tim explica que hay gente que trabajaba antes del COVID cuidando personas, cuidando mascotas o lo que sea, pero tenían un trabajo y ahora sin esto no se puede. Entonces, estos nuevos modelos de negocio pueden ser muy rentables si se hace a través de software o a través de una compañía que aglutine a esta gente y que pueda dar ese servicio. Another example, team? Otro ejemplo, team?
Oh, yeah, easily, because Amazon, I don't know if you've been watching Amazon, but at the beginning of the COVID, Amazon stock price was about $18.50. And if we look it up right now, if we look up Amazon stock, it's going to be up around $3,000. Amazon stock. And so what that means is, because people aren't going to the stores, yeah, in 6 months, Amazon stock has gone from $1,900 to over $3,000 because everybody's getting things delivered to them. So Amazon is a big example of delivery services that are successful.
Tim nos explica sobre el precio de la acción de Amazon, cómo ha cambiado y que ahora vale $300 casi. Entonces, cómo se ha multiplicado, podríamos decir, por decirles un número, casi 25 veces el valor. Entonces, es impresionante cómo el delivery o darle acceso, because the key question is to give access to the people, ¿no? Dar acceso, giving access is amazing. Si tú das acceso a la gente te va a comprar y eso es lo que ha pasado con Amazon. Amazon está dando acceso a la gente. Amazon is giving access.
Yes. So, for example, with Amazon, I didn't want to go to the store and buy a big bag of dog food. I go onto Amazon, same price, they deliver it to my house, and I don't get charged for the delivery.
Y lo sorprendente es que te están dando servicios y que no te cobran extra por el servicio. Entonces, ese tipo de servicio que tú ya lo apropias porque te está dando un plus, pero realmente ya va en el precio premium o en el precio del producto, es lo que el consumidor también está apreciando mucho. Perfect. Anything more?
Nada.
Okay. More questions? You can put here your questions. Si ustedes tienen preguntas, por favor, pongan en el chat las preguntas. Y si no, vamos a hacer una pregunta última a Tim. Okay, we are going to do one more question for Tim in order to have the opportunity. Oh, Darwin. From Darwin, we have a question here. Oh, how I can to get a software that helping me to access for customers remotely in the IT business, for example. He would like to know about in IT business how you can get a software.
Darwin, could you type that in English? Is that the right translation?
Yeah.
Okay. So so I understand. The question is, where can I get customer service software?
Customer service software remotely in the IT business.
So I think he's asking, is called a CRM. That's what I think this question is about. Where can I get a CRM? And there's a lot of really good CRMs out there. Okay, good. So this customer management system, there's a whole multitude out there. One of the most popular in the States is something called Salesforce, and they have different levels depending on your industry. It's not just selling, it's all customer and project management. And so Salesforce has Microsoft Project built into it. It has a customer relationship package also. It has a marketing package. It has an e-commerce package. So Salesforce has all this plugins, and it helps you manage the entire customer experience. It's a customer management software. So the most popular one is called Salesforce, but there's probably 5 or 6 others out there.
Perfect. I am trying to taking notes here. Yeah, but Team Express explica acerca del CRM y que hay un software para Salesforce, para fuerza de ventas, que es como un plugin que se adapta a Microsoft Project. que ayuda a manejar la experiencia del consumidor. Realmente es como un CRM que ayuda a entender los hábitos del consumidor y accesar remotamente a los consumidores. Tim,
Sí.
and then, okay. Darwin is, you can see that the chat. You
Yeah,
can
more
see the
about
chat.
pivoting during the acquire remote software to assist clients remotely. They are located in Connecticut. It's more about pivoting. During COVID, I acquired a remote software to assist. Could you do me a favor, Mauricio? Can you unmute Darwin? And maybe Darwin is a small business owner and student in the United States. And
Okay.
Darwin, do you mind sharing what you're asking?
Okay, here. Darwin.
He just needs to be unmuted.
Okay, he is. Darwin, you are on mute.
All right, can you hear me now, Tim?
Perfecto.
Yeah, we can hear you perfecto.
So my question basically was, again, during the pandemic, because of what Tim was explaining earlier about pivoting, I thought for my business, it was a good idea to invest in a software which it allows me to help my clients remotely without me having to assist and help them in their system physically.
Oh, perfect.
So when he's talking about pivot, that's what I did, and I did it early at the beginning of April, which has helped me tremendously.
En español.
En Darwin, en español.
Sí, lo que el profesor Tim decía acerca de hacer un pivot, que durante la pandemia yo me puse a pensar de cómo podía ayudar a mis clientes remotamente, y entonces adquirí un software que me ayudaba a entrar en el sistema y ayudar a mis clientes remotamente en cualquier parte del mundo desde mi oficina sin yo estar ahí físicamente.
Thank you.
¿Y la marca del software que usaste o cómo es?
So, se llama Autotask, and the company is a local company. Es una compañía local aquí en Connecticut, en Norwalk, Connecticut, and it's called Autotask.
Oh, yeah.
Y se puede aplicar en servicios.
No te escuché, disculpa.
Se puede aplicar en servicios y todo.
Sí, lo que yo hago, yo puedo ayudar a cualquier cliente alrededor del mundo solamente desde aquí de mi oficina, con sus servers, sus monitores, sus computadoras, cualquier problema que tengan de ransomware, any software issues, cualquier problema que tengan en la computadora, yo lo puedo ayudar de aquí desde mi oficina.
Perfecto. ¿Puedes colocar tu teléfono aquí porque nos interesa?
Absolutamente.
Perfecto. Hey, Tim, he's a key student, ¿no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Yeah, very smart. He has a system that they can access remotely to anybody. You can be in Germany, or you can you can be in Spain, you can be in Chile, but he can access.
Yeah, Darwin, will you put your email address in the chat?
And phone number, please.
So if anybody in this from the Chamber of Commerce wants to talk to you, they can reach out and connect.
Yeah, please in the chat.
Absolutely.
Darwin.
Yep, I'm doing it right now.
In the chat. Okay, nice. De Lara. Okay. And your phone number?
I'm putting it right now as well.
Please. Nice. Thank you. You are very kind.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
We got it. Okay, here we go. Maybe we're going to have the final question. Really thank you for your time, Tim, and we go for the final question. Okay, could you offer for our colleagues in Latin America, in El Salvador, in Central America, some suggestions in COVID and some specific areas that you can invest in crisis in order to continue small business and continue economic activities during the pandemic situation?
There's a couple of other things that go on. In industries that are very service, very hands-on, then find a way to get to your customers, because A computer can never replace your electrician, your plumber, your contractor. So a couple of things I would recommend. Number one, when you can use technology, use it quickly, get it, collaborate, find people to collaborate with because everyone has the same problem. Find a problem, define the problem, solve the problem, and you have a business idea. So in the United States, delivery, service, those are the industries. Online learning, public health, mental health, and technology-based businesses continue to grow.
Ok, Tim nos explica que hay que buscar esa tecnología que nos va a ayudar a llegar al consumidor rápidamente y que hay muchas áreas que se ve claramente que podrían usarse en Latinoamérica, que ya se ve que están creciendo en Estados Unidos y también lo vemos en Latinoamérica. Entonces, todas esas áreas de alimentos, todas esas áreas que conectan con el consumidor, del delivery y de otras áreas, son áreas que nos pueden llevar a otro nivel, incluso a sostener los negocios, incluso en la crisis. Entonces lo que tenemos que centrarnos es en el consumidor y cómo generar ese acceso al consumidor. Okay, Tim? We have here something more.
Yeah, just remember what I said earlier, that technology lets little companies compete against big companies. But more importantly, it allows countries to compete as well and make them equals.
Okay, and we have one more question here, Tim. In professional services, where people really appreciate the personal contact, what is your recommendation in order to innovate in personal contact services?
For example, what are you talking
¿Podría dar un
accountants?
ejemplo de servicio personal de contacto? I think for lawyers, or for professors, or for training, for example, professional service with personal contact.
So lawyers in the United States are using Zoom. Doctors are using Zoom. Counselors are using Zoom. Teachers are using Zoom. It's not the same, but people are using it to deliver their services to their customers. So online technology, consulting, it's all going through the internet. Medicine, mental health, telehealth, legal services. So it's all technology based. And the nice thing about Zoom and its competitors, you just have to get a subscription. And once you get the subscription, you can continue to provide your service. You can continue to bill. So there's a bunch of different apps for payment. So people can pay me to my checking account, right? So Venmo's very, very popular. So you use Zoom for the service and you use Venmo for the payment. Okay, and those are just two examples.
Ok, Tim dice que hay aplicaciones en donde todos, doctores, abogados, entrenadores, todo el mundo está usando Zoom o está usando herramientas digitales y aplicativos por teléfono y hasta pueden tener una suscripción y un pago mensual para estar viendo ese entrenamiento o ese abogado o lo que necesitan. Y todo por internet, o sea, no necesitamos estar en contacto con la gente así de cara a cara, sino que el contacto es mantener la comunicación. Y ese es el futuro. Entonces, esa es la recomendación de Tim. Oh, perfecto.
Do you guys mind if I ask something?
Okay, Darwin Lara, he has another question, please.
Actually more in regards to the question and what Tim was stating. So I'm going to say it in English and then I'm going to say it in Spanish.
Por favor, en español también, sí.
So what happens is like that interaction, that connectivity, because I also do sales, and what happens is, again, it goes back with pivoting, right? Our customers, they have to also understand that this is a new thing, and I don't think we ever going to get back into this normal. So what happens is that now they also have to understand, they also have to pivot, that this is a new thing. you need to do this stuff remotely, and it's not now an obligation or a necessity to be one-on-one anymore. All right, so just like businesses pivoted, we as consumers have to pivot as well. So for instance, when we go to a store and we buy something, there are stores, you know, recently I went to a CVS and everything is automated now. So you grab your stuff, you make your payments and you go. So ahora lo voy a decir en español. So la conexión de lo que está hablando Tim tiene mucho que ver con hacer este pivot, ¿no? Porque ahora, así como nosotros como dueños de negocios tenemos que actualizarnos y usar tecnología que nos ayude con los clientes también tienen que usar la tecnología para nosotros poder ayudarnos. Y ellos también tienen que hacer ese pivot. Y es desde irse acostumbrando. No están acostumbrados todavía porque es nuevo, pero eventualmente ellos tienen que también ir a este nuevo mundo nuevo. Porque si vas a las tiendas hoy en día, la mayoría de tiendas, todo lo que hacen lo haces automáticamente. Vas a un McDonald's es automáticamente. Ya necesariamente esa interacción con el cliente ya casi se está perdiendo. Eso era el punto que quería hacer.
Perfecto. Okay. Okay, thank you, Darwin. And
No problem.
thank you to all our friends today. Team, we really appreciate your time. We really, really appreciate all the suggestions that you have offered all the people today. And we would like to maybe in the future to have another time with you.
Yes, absolutely. If I will put my email address in the chat,
Please.
and if people have questions, then email me or connect with me on, let's make sure I got it right. Yep. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you need any help, then absolutely, you know, I'll definitely give you a hand. Oh, I think I just sent that privately. It's, you know, we're here to help each other through this crisis. And that's what's important. Collectively, we can help each other through this crisis. And I think that's important to translate.
Dice Tim que colectivamente nos podemos ayudar todos en la crisis si todos pensamos en cooperarnos unos a otros y ayudarnos. Entonces tenemos que fomentar este espíritu de cooperación y ayuda entre todos para salir avantes en la crisis todos. Y aquí está el correo, el email de Tim Raynor. Ahí está en Gmail, en el chat. También lo vamos a poner aquí en la presentación para que lo puedan ver más grande. Y pueden ver el video de hoy. Está en la página web de la Cámara Española. You can see the video today in YouTube, porque tenemos el video de hoy en la Cámara Española. Gracias a los amigos de la Cámara que nos han permitido tener este webinar que me permitió invitar estudiantes de la Universidad Católica, de otras universidades, amigos de Estados Unidos, to all my friends in Connecticut, Washington, D.C., and California. It is my pleasure, you know, see you in Vegas.
Chao.
A todos mis amigos, muchas gracias y gracias por estar con nosotros, también amigos en Latinoamérica, en otros países, así que gracias. Really thank you, team. Really thank you for your time. It's my pleasure to be in contact. Okay, my pleasure. Really thank you.
Ciao.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, man. Aquí está el correo, por si lo quieren ver, lo vamos a poner en grande, ¿verdad? Si no, está en el chat está el correo. Bueno, muchas gracias, de esta forma terminamos. Gracias a Tim y a todos. Salimos de la presentación y terminamos. Gracias, un placer a todos, como siempre.